Crystal, how do you Saskatchewan? I'm gonna have to admit that was the first time that I've heard that. Oh, it's in Canada. Okay, good to know. I live in a Southern California bubble, everybody. So, all right, so we're gonna give it just a few more minutes and let a couple other people join on. I always say Monday mornings on Zoom is like a traffic jam on a very busy freeway. For some reason, people end up having a challenging time being able to log on. So we're gonna give it just a couple more minutes and then we will get started. Jordan is obviously prepping her beautiful model. Thank you so much for
Thank you.
For volunteering your time and getting your hair colored with magical Megix 10. Good morning. For those of you that are just joining us, we do these Zoom webinars in a webinar format, not a Zoom meeting format. And so we cannot see you, we cannot hear you. You don't have to worry about your background if your dogs are barking or your kids are crying. It's all good. But if you want to communicate and chat with us, this is where you're going to use the chat box, okay? Zoom webinars also has a Q&A feature. However, my eyes are always on the chat box so that I can see what your questions are. So welcome, thank you for joining us. So we're gonna give it a couple more minutes. I'm gonna pull up my slides. Let's see here. We can do this. So please tell me if you guys can see my screen, but why can't I see the chat box? Jordan, can you see my slides?
I see you.
You see me, but not my slides?
I see both.
Oh, okay, cool. But I can't see the chat. So Jay Templeton is also, oh, there's the chat. Okay.
I think if you move your cursor up to the top where it says save, Raz, it should pop up.
Yeah, I just saw that. So I have the chat box up on my screen, but can you guys see it or no?
No, we can't see the chat box unless we click on the chat.
Okay, very cool. All right, so good morning, everybody. Thank you so much for joining us on this Monday morning. I'm going to speak for myself, and I'm sure Jordan agrees. We're so excited for all of you who join us on the second Monday of every month to learn about Megix 10. We call this class the magic of Megix because although there's obviously the technological reasons on how Megix works the way it does, it's almost very magical to see the results that are achieved in such a short amount of time. So I want to welcome you guys. I want to also just reiterate, if you have any questions, feel free to utilize the chat box. I can see the chat box, but any technical questions, any formulation questions, any troubleshooting questions, we're going to keep for the very end. So for this next hour, we're going to go through the magic of Megix. We're going to talk about Megix 10 technology, the tonal families, mixing and timing, while Jordan is actually using Megix on her model. And once we wrap that up, I will be taking questions that are relevant to what we're talking about. But once we wrap that up from 10 to 10:30, we are going to do a Q&A session, like a deep dive Q&A, any formula questions, any troubleshooting questions. We'll save those for the very end. So let me please just introduce myself so you guys know who you're talking to or who's talking to you. My name is Aras Nelson. I have been involved in educating with Megix for almost 5 years now. It was introduced to me 5 years ago, and it completely changed not only the way I ran my business, but reignited my excitement and passion for this industry. So I've been a hairstylist for 21 years behind the chair. And, you know, after a while, burnout is real. After a while, there comes a point where we kind of get bored. Yes, we have color lines that we love, but there's always that, like, I want to try something new. I need to try something. I want to stretch myself. I want to go out of my comfort zone. And so for me personally, Megix 10 seemed like a really great concept. I was very interested in the idea of 10-minute color, but I had not had any success previous to using Megix. So let me ask those of you who are here, have you guys ever used a color line that is a 10-minute color line before you used Megix? And if so, I don't care about the brand, but what was your experience? And so while you guys put that in the chat box, I'm going to give it over to Jordan so she can introduce herself so you know who the second person on the screen is. But in the meantime, put in the chat box, have you guys used other 10-minute color? What was your experience? Jordan, it's all you.
It's all me. Hi, everybody. How are you? I'm Jordan Olawumi. I'm based out of Chicago. I have been a licensed cosmetologist for a little over 17 years now, actually. It's really hard because as time goes on, I don't know about you, Araz, but you kind of lose like track of that number and you're like, wait, how long has it been? And you almost want to like hide from it because you're like, I'm getting old.
Well, when I say 21 years, I'm like, oh my God.
I know, it's wild. But I am the owner of Salon Snob, and we've been in business. We just celebrated 9 years this past November. And I've been using Megix 10 for a little over 4 years now. And I recently found out that I was the first salon in Chicago to be using this brand. And I'll tell you, it's been over 4 years and I don't ever plan on ever going back because this color is truly one of its kind. I never ever thought that I would actually be an educator, and Megix 10 definitely pulled that out of me because I am a true believer in what this product does and this company, and it definitely shows up for you. I've seen amazing results since day one. When I knew nothing about the color, it was just a tube that was presented to me to use, and it really has never let me down. Absolutely love it. So I'm excited to show you how it works, and that it really truly is a 10-minute color that's not progressive.
Yes, not progressive. You hit the nail on the head. So I want to read some of the comments that have come up when I asked if you've used any other 10-minute color. So somebody said, I get no gray coverage and shine. It didn't cover. I hated that it was progressive. It was too dark, uneven. Crystal says, yes, I liked it, but it was never consistent when I was using it. It wasn't something I constantly picked. I think partly because it was progressive, too scared to try others as they are progressive. So that is one of the points that really differentiates Megix 10 from any other 10-minute color line. So we're going to cover all of that, but I want you guys to know how today's going to flow, what we're going to talk about. So we're going to talk about old technology and the Megix 10 difference. We're going to talk about spectrum technology, Caravage 18, the tonal families, the color wheels, great coverage with Megix 10, ultra blondes, color enhancers, fantasy colors, lift 9, developers, mixing and timing, and Megix support products. This seems like a lot of information, but I promise you, you will, if I do my job and Jordan does her job and we do this right, you will leave feeling more confident in using Megix 10, excited to try Megix 10, and really ready to change your business. So I want to talk about old 10-minute color technology, but before we get into this, I think Jordan is going to start her application, or did you spray one up already? I wasn't paying attention.
Nope, I have not, but I have it right here.
Perfect.
Can you guys see me? Because I only see you, Araz.
Can you guys see Jordan? Can we see Jordan? Let me know in the chat box. Yes. Yes, 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 they can see you. Okay, perfect.
Oh, perfect. So this is the one up. This is what the bottle looks like. It's really amazing, and it's just a simple spray. I'm going to do that while you continue to talk, Araz.
Okay, how great would it be to have a giant bottle of 1-Up with a trigger?
It would be amazing. Oh, let me explain to you why I'm going to be using this. So I'm going to be using Megix 1-Up because Christina here has scalp sensitivity. So what that's going to do is it's going to prevent any itching or any sort of like burning for clients who have super sensitive scalp. Now, Megix 10 is low in ammonia, so you don't really, a lot of my clients that had scalp sensitivity in the past, or, you know, with other colors. They don't get that with Megix 10, but I go ahead and use this anyway, because this does help with any, you know, itching that a client may have if they are super sensitive.
Perfect. Sarah, do you have to let one up sit for a certain time? No, you do not. Tracy's asking if we can make Jordan's screen bigger, and I don't know how to do that. So when Jordan speaks, does the screen get bigger?
It doesn't on my end, but not sure if they're seeing something different because I don't see me.
Okay, I only see my big screen because I'm sharing the slides.
So I kind of just spray and apply this. I don't oversaturate. I just kind of get in there, get the job done, and just keep moving. You don't need to spend a lot of time on this.
Okay, so somebody's saying I can only see the slides. So I think this is based on the view that you have set in your Zoom settings. So if you want to play around with that, so you find the view that works best for you.
Is that on my end or their end?
On their end, babe. Yeah. On for those of you who are participating and watching, how you see the screen is in your settings. So while Jordan sprays one up, I want to talk about old 10-minute color technology. And we say old because Megix does not use this technology, but there are a lot of other 10-minute color lines that are still using this technology. So I think for me, it's important as a colorist, I need to know what makes what I am using superior or better or different. And so I think touching on what other 10-minute colors are is going to help you understand why Megix is different. So number one, a lot of people think that because this is a 10-minute process, that it tends to be more aggressive. Megix isn't. But when we're talking about some of the other 10-minute color lines, and you guys will see more and more, a lot of the dinosaur brands, like the older manufacturers, are now coming up with a 10-minute color line because there is a need, there is a space for these types of services. So the other 10-minute color lines tend to be more aggressive. Why? Because they're higher in ammonia content. They're higher in alkalinity. So when we're talking about alkalinity and what it does to the hair, right? Let's go back to beauty school real quick, bust out the pH scale. When you put something that is highly alkaline in the hair, what it does is it softens and swells the cuticles at a very rapid pace. The higher the alkalinity, the quicker that happens. The quicker that happens, the more structural damage that can occur. Okay, time out. Jay says, click on view options and click on side-by-side mode. It should put both me and Jordan on the screen along with the presentation. Thank you for that, Jay. So old 10-minute color technology, high in alkalinity, high ammonia content, their ideology is this: let's blast the cuticle open as quickly as we can. And then unpredictable results and progressive. Here's why. The heavy dye load. So any other 10-minute color that I've tested, and this is my experience, is very progressive. You guys saw it in the chat box. What does progressive mean? Jordan, what does progressive mean?
Progressive means that it works too fast, which it can essentially cause damage to the hair and scalp. It means that it could potentially cause hot roots. It could, I mean, the list goes on.
Main one being it could get darker, right? So when other people are saying, oh, other lines are progressive, that means that after 10 minutes, what these manufacturers are hoping and praying for is that the hairdresser washes it off. Because after the 10-minute mark, that will keep on going and depositing and getting darker and darker and darker and darker. So I don't know about you guys, but for me, that is absolutely unacceptable. I can't use a color that is going to be unpredictable and it's going to get darker. What if I need to leave it on for 12 minutes because I had to use the restroom or something? My foils weren't ready yet. So old ideology, blast the cuticle open with high ammonia, pack the color with a heavy dye load, and hope that the hairdresser washes it off in 10 minutes, okay? This is why a lot of people have had a difficult time And so when they hear 10-minute color, all of that comes back up. And I'm like, no, but this is different. Like it's 100%. The only thing Megix has in common with any other 10-minute color line is the 10-minute processing time. That's it.
Yes, and I want to touch on, I said the hot root thing, meaning like with the higher levels as far, and the levels, because I felt like with other 10-minute color, you leave it on, and even if you leave it on too long, like it will not like cover the gray, and it would leave it like this, like you don't get true to like tone either. So that's what I meant by as far as like getting hot root.
Yeah, 100%. So when we're talking about other 10-minute colors, I try to reinforce that even if you've had experience with a 10-minute color, I want you to take that experience and like wrap it up in a box and like put it away, because Megix is not that. So I want to talk about what makes Megix 10 different, but I'm going to pass it over to Jordan. So I think she has some things to say.
Yes, what I'm gonna actually go ahead and start mixing and putting it on. Does that work for you, Raz?
Absolutely.
Okay, wonderful. So here's what we're gonna do. So I'm gonna go ahead and I'm gonna use our true neutrals. Okay, a level 5 true neutral on this palette. I was gonna go ahead and throw a little 4 in there, but I'm not going to. I'm gonna use a true neutral to show you how our true neutrals really work and how they create amazing color. So I'm gonna go ahead and I'm gonna mix that with our 21 volume. Not sure if you guys can see that. And it's important to always mix it and make sure that I know with every color like you're supposed to, but I know that there's some stylists out there that will just pick up the brush and do this. With Megix 10, you just wanna make sure that you truly just mix it to make sure that it is fully mixed together with the developer and the color.
Yeah. Also very important to weigh or measure. I think Jordan, you're using the scale. Yep, bingo. So here's the thing, before I talk about what makes Megix different, listen, I've been in the industry for 21 years. I have been involved in education for 15 or 16 years. I've been in salons all across the states, and I've seen hairstylists work, okay? I've seen the eyeballing. I've seen that, oh, I'm just gonna squirt a little bit of this and a little bit of that. It's like, you guys are working with chemicals. We have to remember we're working with chemicals. So if you want the best, most accurate results, you have to measure, you have to weigh, okay? So I do this in every webinar. I'll ask you this question and we'll go into the chat box here. If you don't measure or weigh your color and you eyeball it, and let's say you put too much developer, okay, because with Megix, our mixing ratio is equal parts color to developer for gray coverage. So let's say you put too much developer. What happens if you put too much developer? What could go sideways? And I lost my chat box. Where's my chat? Whoops. Jay, can you see the chat box? Jay, are you here? You guys, I lost my chat box. Oh, here it is. Okay. So if I put too much developer in my color bowl, what could happen? Ashley, lighter end result. Yes. I would get a lighter end result because the developer, if I put too much, A, it's going to create more lift, and B, it's going to shear out my deposit. So what happens if I do the opposite? What happens if I put too much color and not enough developer? If I don't measure it and I put too much color, not enough developer? Darker. Bingo. Ashley's on the chat box. Thank you for that. Yes, you will get a darker result because you have to make sure that you mix and measure your mixing because we want to get the most predictable results. So, okay, let's talk about the Megix 10 difference. And remember we said, Melissa says, I found the true neutrals to run darker than the other series. Yes, they do. I use a 10 true neutral on Lady that's a level 8. It turned to the perfect level. We started with a 9 and it was too dark. Yes. So I'm going to talk about the true neutrals and why you had that experience because it's on purpose. So let's talk about the Megix 10 difference first. Remember we talked about old technology. Let's blast the cuticle open, heavy dye load, aggressive on the hair, not predictable. Why is Megix different? So number one, we have low ammonia content. So the highest level of ammonia that we have is in our Ultralift Blondes at 2.7%. Just for reference, industry max or industry standard is about 4%. So we're pretty significantly lower than what industry standard is. Our ideology is not let's blast the cuticle open, okay? Our ideology is let's make sure we keep the hair healthy. So Megix is very gentle in conditioning on the hair. You will get 100% gray coverage. It is not progressive. Megix is a full color line of 92 shades and it's multi-use, ideal for every client. So I want to talk about spectrum technology because this is the technology that we use with our color and why you don't have to worry about the damage that can be caused with high alkalinity and why you don't have to worry about progressive color. So the pigments that Megix uses are very high quality, they're very rare, but they're specifically formulated in micro sizes and micro weights. Maybe you've heard this term before, micropigment technology. So the dye molecules are a lot smaller. If they're a lot smaller in size and smaller in weight, we don't have to blast those cuticle layers open significantly, right? All we have to do is just gently lift those layers so that those micropigments can get into the cortical fibers. Now, once they're in the cortex, this is what makes Megix different, is the couplers that we use. And for those of you that don't know, couplers are basically molecules that couple the dyes together and make you see the visual result. So the couplers that we use work quicker than most other color lines. So not only are we using smaller micropigments, they couple and combine at a much more rapid pace, allowing this 10-minute process to happen. So it's a revolutionary technology. It differs from anything else that's on the market, especially from what I've tested. And you get perfect deposit. It's non-progressive. You don't have to worry. Like, if you have to leave it on longer, it's okay. You know, we don't recommend that you leave it on longer than 45 minutes. But if you do have to leave it on a little bit longer, you're fine. You're not going to get an over deposit. Caraveg 18 is, let me ask this. For those of you that are on here right now, who has used Megix? Who has used Megix?
And Raz, I just want to chime in here. I actually went ahead and as you all can see, I have started applying because as soon as you mix Megix 10, you're going to want to go ahead and use it right away because it is a 10-minute color. You don't start the 10 minutes until after you have fully completed your application.
Yes. So this isn't one of those, hey, let me mix it and leave it in my back room until my client comes in 15 minutes. Negative. Okay. So what you want to do is mix and apply right away. And like Jordan said, start your timer after your application. Okay, so I have me. I've been using it about 3 years. I just used it. I've used it once as an assistant with Elise. Okay. So for those of you who have used it, how insane is the hair's shine once you wash the color off? It's like glass. Okay, and part of that is because of Caraveg 18, the amazing shine.
Rename Megix 10 lamination.
Yeah, it's like a laminate, 100%. And so Caraveg 18 is a vegetable-based keratin protein complex. It is not like an additive that you have to manually add. It is already in the color. It's in our developers, it is in our shampoo and conditioner, and its job is to increase the strength and elasticity during coloring, add insane shine, durability, and color longevity. It is not a bond builder, okay? What I refer to Caraveg 18 as is like a hair mask. It's got those conditioning properties of a hair mask in your color. So, what I can say is in working with Megix for the last 5 years and working behind the scenes with like product development and what I've seen with my own eyes is there is a serious level of commitment to making sure hair stays healthy, to making sure that, because let's be real, who likes working on damaged hair? Not me. Jordan, do you like working on damaged hair?
Sorry, I can't hear you. I'm just kidding. No, absolutely not.
No. And I don't want to be the cause of that damage. Like, I don't want to be the reason why that hair feels like, hey. So when I'm using a product that I know is from a brand standpoint, from a manufacturer standpoint, that commitment to making sure hair stays healthy and shiny and beautiful, I'm here for it. Like, I am 100% here for it. So CareVeg 18 does just that. So we want to chat really quickly about the tonal families. Yes, I just checked the chat box real quick. The shine is amazing. It's amazing. It's beautiful. It is. It really is. Alexa says I have and I love it. Okay, so let's chat about our tonal families. So Jordan used on her model a true neutral. So if you guys can see my screen, you'll see the first 3 rows. One says true neutral, one says natural, and one says intense natural. What is the difference? Jordan, do you want to talk about that or you want me to handle that?
I mean, you can work that. I kind of have sometimes ADD where I'm doing something and then I'm like,
I got you. I got you. Feel free to chime in at any point, okay?
yes, absolutely.
Yeah. So let's talk about the true neutrals first, okay? True neutrals were just launched in September of 2021. So they are our baby. They are brand new to the line and they were designed specifically for gray coverage, okay? So for the person who asked earlier or who mentioned that they're a little bit darker, they are. So I want you to think about any other brand that you have ever used, okay? And if they have like an N and they have an NN, or if they have a natural and then a gray coverage series, what is the difference between the regular N and the NN or the gray coverage series? What is the difference? Chat box it up, guys.
I also love the true neutrals because I don't get any warmth with them. And I know with, you know, Christina's natural color that she always pulls with a little bit of red undertone. And I know that when I use the true neutral from Megix 10, that it's going to kind of be my little security guard against those warm tones.
Bingo. So in reading the chat, double the pigment, not quite, but kind of. I'll talk more about that. So opacity, that is really the key word there, opacity and intensity. So when a brand or a manufacturer creates a series for gray coverage, you got to think we're dealing with white unpigmented hair. So what that gray coverage series needs to do is not only cover and really fully cover, but also saturate and create that opacity and saturation that's needed for white hair coverage. So the reason true neutrals seem darker is because they are, okay? They're not necessarily formulated darker, but any gray coverage series is always a little bit more opaque, is always a little bit more saturated. So Jordan said she was going to mix the 5 true neutral with a little bit of 4 natural. You can always do that. I do that a lot because for me, oh, she just set her timer for, that was a quick application, girl. Woo! Okay, so true neutrals, okay, they are perfectly balanced blue, red, and yellow. That's what you want to use for gray coverage. Our natural is a 0.0 yellow green, and then the intense natural is 0.00 yellow orange. So the reason I emphasize this is because let's keep it real as hairdressers. When you see 0.00, don't you automatically think, sweet, gray coverage, extra gray coverage, that's what I'm going to use. But with Megix, you want to make sure it's the 0.00N, not just the 0.00, because the 0.00 is very warm, okay? It is a yellow-orange background. So what I like to do oftentimes is I will mix my true neutral with any of these colors, but usually with a 0.0 or a 0.00 if I want to cool it down a little bit, or if I want to warm it up a little bit. Yes, Melissa, 0.00 does pull more red. It does because it is a yellow-orange background, and then the undertone you're exposing of the warmth add those two together, you have very bright hair. So it's funny because sometimes people will DM me like, hey, I use 0.00. Why does it look like hot roots? And I'm like, well, it's 0.00. It's a warm natural. So important to know that. We also have a few ashes. We have a 0.1 and 0.11, blue-green and blue-blue-green. There's ash violet. We have gold, copper, mahogany, two different reds. We have maroon and sand and ultralifts and enhancers. And so the reason I'm saying this is because, like I said earlier, the only thing that Megix 10 has in common with any other 10-minute color is the processing time. Other than that, I always refer to Megix 10. It's a traditional color line. It has the capabilities of a traditional color line. It just so happens to process quicker. So every service that's done in the salon can be done using Megix 10. Okay, your glossing, your toning, your root melting, your smudging, your reds, your coppers, everything that you can do, you can use Megix and save 70% in your time. Like
your eyebrow dyeing.
What'd you say?
Eyebrow tinting.
Eyebrow dyeing. Okay. So Sari says, I know you have a 0.16 series, but what is the 6? So Sari, the 6 is a red. So the 0.16 is an ash red. Tracy, gray coverage. Why is it recommended a higher volume? Wouldn't that result in a warmer result? So I don't use 32 volume for gray coverage, only in specific scenarios. And I will talk about that when we get to the gray coverage portion. Great question. So I want to share our color wheel because this is going to be your tool, your best friend, your go-to when you're formulating with Megix. And what's great about the Megix color wheel is every color that we have is placed on the color wheel based on intensity and saturation. So the closer you get to the middle of the color wheel, the more background and the more brown. The further away you get, the more tone, okay? And then you'll see that true neutrals are smack in the middle. So that's what we recommend for gray coverage. So let's talk about gray coverage really quickly, because I think most of you will bring Megix 10 on to try with gray coverage first, and then kind of work your way into some of the other funner colors. So remember we talked about already, warm natural is the 0.00s, cool natural is the 0.0, and then true neutral is 0.00m. When you're dealing with anything below 30% gray hair, any color can be used. Any Megix 10 color will give you coverage when we're dealing with below 30% gray. So if you want to put a red, you want a copper, you want a gold, it's all good. Now, when we get above 30%, so 30 to 50% white hair, this is when we want to start adding true neutral in our family, or true neutral in our color bowl, right? Because now we're dealing with a lot more of the white unpigmented hair. We need some neutral to really get that coverage. So what's recommended is 5 to 25% of your formula have some true neutral when you're dealing with 30 to 50% gray. So let me say that one more time. If the client has 30 to 50% white hair, 5 to 25% of your formula in your bowl should be a true neutral. The 95 to 75% can be a red, a copper, a gold, whatever you want, but 5 to 25%, hey, we got 5 minutes left. 5 to 25% should be true neutral. When you're dealing with over 50% gray hair, 25 to 50% of your formula should be a true neutral, which is great in my opinion, because I come from that time when some color lines back in the day would say, okay, depending on the percentage of gray of the client, that's the percentage of neutral you need to use. And I'm like, okay, great, but what if they're 90% gray and I want red? How am I going to get red with 90% neutral in my bowl? So with Megix, because of the spectrum technology, because of how we're formulated, only 25 to 50% of your formula should be a true neutral. So the question comes up, well, that's a big range, 25 to 50 or 5 to 25%. Like, how do I decide? Well, the more gray, the more neutral, okay? So if you're at the 50% gray, you probably want to go closer to, 15 to 25% of your formula with a true neutral. The other thing to consider is how much brown do you want? So if you're mixing it with a red, do you want it more vibrant red or do you want it more brown red, like an auburn? So it's to your discretion on how much true neutral that you're going to add. So for resistant gray, what's recommended is to drop down half to 1 level in color. So for the person who asked earlier, why is it recommended to use 32 volume for gray coverage? I believe that's older material that we have, but the reason that I would use 32 volume for gray coverage is this, and it's just a very specific niche time that I would. So let's say I have a client and she wants to be a blonde, but she needs gray coverage. So I'm going to use a true neutral, okay? But you guys all know that at a level 9 and a level 10, we're doing more gray blending, right? Like at a level 9 and a level 10, we don't have that much dye. So when I would use a 32 is say this blonde client wants full coverage. She doesn't want any kind of translucency. I would drop my formula to an 8, but I would up my developer to a 32 so that it looks like a level 9, but I'm getting the coverage of a level 8. Does that resonate? Does that make sense? Tell me in the chat. I think it was Tracy who asked that. Definitely yes. Okay, cool. The other time I would use it is if I'm going to use a level 9 or 10 true neutral, and I know that the true neutrals are, yes, say it one more time. I did that and it came out strawberry blonde. Yeah, Tracy. So if you use a higher developer, depending on the level that you're putting it on, we got to think about what are we putting it on, and you expose that undertone, you're going to see that warm. So when I want to use, oh, 1.5 minutes left. That went, I got to talk faster, guys. When I want to use a level 8 or a 9 and get full coverage, but my client wants to be a level 9 or a 10, that's when I would up my developer and drop my color choice. So my level 8 is going to give me more of an opaque coverage, but if I use a higher developer, it's going to shear it out so it doesn't look so dark. So that's really the only time I would use a 32 volume for gray coverage. But also be mindful, if we're working on salt and pepper hair, okay, and that pepper is dark, if I use a level 9 color and 32 volume on a level 4 pepper, you're going to get warmth. This is only in a situation if I'm dealing with over 80 or 90% white hair, well, I will drop my color and up my developer. But if we're dealing with a lot of pepper still in the hair, you got to be careful. Because I mean, what would happen if you put a level 8 or a 9 on a level 4 client? It's going to be warm. So when we're dealing with white hair, we're dealing with salt and pepper. So it's always important, in my opinion, really good idea to not go more than 2 levels. So if they're a level 4, don't go higher than a 6 so that you don't create this undesired warmth, okay? So are we good on gray coverage? Any questions? Jordan, where'd you go? We lost
Right here. Can you see me?
No,
You can't see me?
I can't see you.
Oh, no. I'm still here. Huh?
Can you start your video again, maybe?
Oh, I don't know what happened. That's weird.
Oh, there we go. Ooh, washy time.
Oh, I thought that they were able to see us walk over. I'm so sorry. I can't see me, so I don't know what's going on with me.
No, you're good. I saw you walking and then I just looked up again and you were gone.
We must have tapped it maybe. So what I'm going to go ahead and do, the 10 minutes is up, and I love me some Megix 10 shampoo and conditioner. Also, the Synergy Mousse is amazing, and I'm going to show you how it works today as well.
So did you wet her hair yet, Jordan? Or are you
No.
what are you doing there? I feel like that's a good tip.
Okay, so color removes color. So even though you guys saw me cleaning up her skin throughout, I always take a little bit of shampoo and go around the hairline, because color removes color when it comes to this. So if you have a client who stains really bad, or especially being here in Chicago, the cold winter months are super drying on just everything, especially our skin. So if your client has to go back to work or anything like that, this always helps with removing that staining. And I'll go ahead and I'm going to mute actually my video so I don't interrupt the class.
Perfect.
While I shampoo.
Thank you, Jordan. A quick kind of tip on what she was doing, or just to take it one step further, you'll notice that she used the shampoo and rubbed the hairline before she put any water on the client's hair. So as soon as you get water, it's over, you got the stain. So I do this all the time. I'll take my client to the shampoo bowl, I'll emulsify the shampoo and rub that color in to remove it. And then you can turn on your water and wash it off and you're not going to have a stain. So while she does that, I want to talk about our Ultra Blondes and really quickly. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 Ultra Blondes and a blonding enhancer. Who's a good candidate for a high lift blonde series? Well, somebody who's a natural level 7 and above, somebody who has fine to medium texture hair, and somebody who appreciates warmth. Let me say that one more time. Somebody who appreciates warmth. Ultra lift blondes, high lift blondes, their job is to lift, deposit. So you're not going to get a lot of tonal deposit with ultra lift blondes. So when you're dealing with anybody below a level 7, you are going to get warmth. Now, that doesn't mean it's bad. I have clients who have natural level 4 hair that I use ultra lift blondes on, and I get a beautiful caramel highlight. Gorgeous. But the ultra lift blondes, let's see, I'm used for great coverage, tone, breaking base with ultra blondes. Not only time saver, increasing revenue too. Yes. So the ultra lift blondes can give you 3 to 4 levels of lift when you use it with double 40 volume. What's great about the ultra lift blondes, they can also be used as an alkaline toner and an acidic toner, depending on how you mix it. So I'm going to talk about how to transform Megix 10 into an acidic demi-permanent, and it's mind-blowing. So for those of you who maybe don't have a lot of cabinet space, or you don't want to have to carry multiple lines, like, we got you covered. Everything that you need can be done with Megix 10. So I want to talk about this 0.00 because it is a blonding enhancer when you're using it with ultra blondes. It is going to give you an extra 0.5 to 1 level of lift. It's like a boost of alkalinity, okay? But when you use it with our 6 volume developer and Megix Morph, that acts like a clear. So you can dilute when you're toning. You guys, it's insane. But if you're using Megix Ultra Blondes for a high lift blonde service, using 0.00 can give you an extra 0.5 to 1 level of lift. Like I said earlier, ultra lift blondes, they are created to lift, and like slightly deposit. So if you're dealing with 100% white hair or any gray hair, you're not going to get enough deposit. Okay. So if you use this 102, for example, it's like a violet and there's white hair, that white hair could very well turn lilac. If that's what you want, cool. But ultra blondes are not recommended for gray coverage. But here's the truth. We're all hairdressers. We know the rules. And sometimes we kind of like dance around the rules and do our own thing. So I'm just going to tell you what's recommended and what's not. Ultimately, I know people who use the ultra blondes and they use it on white hair and they've had okay results, but I wouldn't recommend it. I would recommend it for lightening hair, 3 to 4 levels. I would definitely recommend the ultra blondes for toning and glossing. They're absolutely beautiful. I want to talk about the color enhancers very quickly because these, in my opinion, are the most underrated colors that we have in our industry. A lot of manufacturers have these enhancers or these boosters or these additives, and these are where you get to get creative with your color formulations. So up to half of your formula can be a color enhancer. Here's what we have to think about though. they don't have a level. Okay, let me grab this really quick. The color enhancers do not have levels because they're pure tone. They're not direct dyes, right? Like this is not from a color enhancer. This is from a direct dye. What the color enhancer is, it's oxidative. So that means it needs developer, but it doesn't have brown. Oh, I don't know what just happened. It doesn't have brown in it. So remember I said up to half of your formula can be used with your color enhancer, but we have to consider how dark is it? So look at this blue. To me, this blue would be a level 3. So if I'm going to add this blue in my level 10, how much am I going to add? Maybe like a gram or 2. And then the yellow is more like a level 6 or 7. So when I say you can mix half of your formula with enhancer, be mindful, what level are you mixing it into? I think Jordan has something to say, but I'm not sure.
Okay, can we talk about how you and I are like soul sisters? Like you just know. I'm gonna go ahead and I'm gonna use our Synergy Mousse as a treatment. Here at my salon, I use it as a protein treatment. It's uploaded again with the CareVeg 18, which is 18 plant-derived amino acids, which is super, super healthy and strengthening for the hair. I charge $40 for this treatment. So I just wanted to share with you, I use it on almost all of my clients because they trust me and they trust that I'm using great products. And then initially when I first like did that for them, and then after they're like, oh my gosh, this is incredible. Like I need this. Make sure you put me down for my Megix 10 protein treatment. So I shake it up a little bit. I do one shampoo and then I put this on and I leave it on for 10 minutes. And then I do a shampoo afterwards, rinse, and then conditioner, and then we move on and dry it. But I just want to show you before Roz gets back to explaining what she was explaining, how it comes out. So I give it a little shake and it looks like mousse. Super, super thick. So after that 10-minute, I'm sorry?
We can't see it. Webcam, not your computer. No.
No? Still?
Your camera is facing your client.
Oh, got it. Okay. Hi. Sorry, this is very close. But it comes out like this. Okay.
Oh, we can't see you. What's happening?
No?
No.
Really?
So I see your right shoulder and I see your model's face.
Right shoulder, model's face, up. Hi. No. I can't see me, so it's hard. Sorry, guys. Technical difficulties. Can you see me now?
Yeah, put it a little bit lower. So you guys can see in her hand, see it's like a foamy mousse. So
it's like thick.
Like
show you how it comes out again.
Yeah, here we go. Beautiful.
Awesome. So I put this on, but because it is thick, when you go after the 10 minutes of leaving it on, when you go to rinse it, make sure you rinse it very, very well before doing the second shampoo.
Bingo. Yeah, so that is the Synergy Mousse from Pure Shades. We also have it with Megix. It's called Deep Hydrating Mousse. And it is coming soon. So yeah, it is a great treatment to use. Initially, it was designed to be mixed with our direct dyes, but the conditioning properties of it are phenomenal. And so we use it as a back bar treatment. I even add a couple of drops of Morph into it to really acidify the hair. I'll talk about that when I talk about Morph. So going back to the color enhancers, you guys using these color enhancers are going to help you get creative and play with your color formulas. One of my favorite ones is the Senior, the Ash. I use the Ash enhancer on a lot of my formulas. On my dark hair clients, like if I'm using a level 6.1 Ash, I will add some gray enhancer to it. I will use it in my toning formulas. So these color enhancers, like I said, they're oxidative. So they come out of the tube white and creamy. You can use them with any other Megix color to shift the tonal direction, but you can also use them on their own as a filler. So say you have a blonde and they're going back to dark, well, you can use the gold with our 6-volume developer as a filler, right? There's no brown in it, and then put your color right on top of that. So color enhancers are a great tool in the Megix 10 portfolio. And then we have the fantasy series. A lot of people get hung up on the fantasy series. They get very confused on what it is. Here's what it is, guys. It is just like every other Megix 10 color. It's just pre-blended. I call them like the oxymoron colors. Like for example, 8.24. 0.2 is a violet and 0.4 is a copper. So it's kind of like it negates each other, but it doesn't, because it is the most beautiful, like nude blonde that I've ever seen. So these fantasy colors will give you up to 30% gray coverage. You can mix them with true neutrals. They can be used to color balance and gloss and tone and do all of the things. So the fantasy series are another amazing color family in our portfolio. So we have the fantasies, we color the color enhancers, and the ultra blondes. Any questions so far? Melissa says, I love the 8.24. It is so beautiful and it's like so underrated. Okay, I want to quickly touch on Lift 9 and bleaching with Megix 10. So if we know that Megix 10 is a 10-minute color that works fast, and we know that Megix Lift 9 was designed to be used with Megix 10, what can we assume about Megix Lift 9? I'm going to answer this for you. We can assume that it works fast. So Lift 9 is, and I know I sound biased, but it is probably the best lightener that I've ever used. And the reason I say that is because it works fast, it lifts cooler, and it keeps the hair healthy. So what we have in Lift 9, what we call is pigment dissolvance technology. So if you'll see these two graphics here, it's indicative of the undertone that is created when we lighten and lift hair. So when we lighten and lift hair, we go through all of these undertones. We create all of these undertones. So the pigment dissolvance technology, what it is there is an ingredient in our lightener, and it is a blue violet or blue gray, that it's a pigment that survives in the alkalinity of the color and actually produces a cooler result. When I tested this, when it first launched years ago, I was blown away. And I was like, oh my God, this is like, whoa, this is like voodoo. And then I've been using it for so many years that I had kind of become used to it. Well, I had to use another lightener because I was all out and my manufacturer or my distributor was out. It was like, it was being delivered the next day. And I ended up using another manufacturer's bleach that was a 9 level, and it was a white bleach. And when I tell you that hair was so yellow, and it was like watching paint dry, I'm like, come on, bleach, come on, you can do it. You like it. Just, I had become so used to using Lift 9 that I almost became like used to how amazing it is, and I forgot how great it was until I had to use something else, and I'm like, oh no, I can't ever use another lightener again. So the pigment dissolvance technology, having the hair lift cooler, and the pigment that actually survives in the alkalinity of the lightener. We also have bamboo carbon extract, which is anti-yellowing and makes sure that the hair stays healthy. So we say you get 9 levels of lift in 50 minutes. It works fast. That's really like as basic and as like layman's terms as I can get. It's fast. So if you haven't used Lift 9 and you're using another lightener and you typically use 20 volume, when you use Lift 9, use it with 12 volume. Drop your developer if you haven't used Lift 9 because it does work a lot quicker than what you're used to, okay? Ashley, quick question. Is there a minimal order being low in ammonia? You're used to a no ammonia line at the moment. So this is a funny question because it really depends on what you're using. So if you're using a color that's non-ammoniated, you're going to smell the ammonia. Like, I'm not going to sugarcoat it. You're going to smell the ammonia. But what you have to know that is ammonia is a gas and it dissipates. So the more you mix it and let that gas dissipate, the less you're going to smell it, the less your client is going to smell it. I will tell you this, stylist to stylist. If you're using a non-ammoniated color now and you use Megix 10, your gray coverage is going to be so on point, your mind is going to be blown. I'm going to assume that if you're using a no ammonia color line, it's also probably PPD free. So the lift that you're going to get with using Megix coming from a non-ammoniated, non-PPD color line, you're going to be like, what the heck? The gray coverage you're going to get, you're going to be like, what was I doing? And so nothing against no ammonia, no PPD color. There is a time and place for that. That's fine. But as a stylist myself, I like ammonia and I like PPD. I get great lift and great coverage. And this is why I'm okay with using Megix 10 on my clients who are like, I don't want the chemicals. I don't want, you know, those, the very conscious clients who are very particular. Think about it this way, guys. When you use a non-ammoniated and no PPD color line, Ashley, I'm going to ask you to answer this because you have used one. We don't have to name any names. What is the processing time for resistant gray coverage for a color line that is no ammonia, no PPD? 45 minutes. Sometimes 1 hour, okay, depending on what you're using. So I want you to think about it this way. Let's say we are going to give an example here. Let's say a client comes in every 4 weeks on the dot for her gray coverage, and you are using a non-ammoniated color line because they don't want the chemicals or whatever. I'm pulling out my calculator so I can do the math here. So if they come in once a month, every 4 weeks for their gray coverage, and your 45-minute processing time, okay? Think about this. They are, even though it's non-ammoniated, even though it's no PPD, it's still most likely MEA. There's still something in that color that is alkalizing the product. It's getting a little bit technical. In layman's terms, it's still chemicals we're putting on their hair. If it's not PPD, it's PTD, it's aminophenol, whatever it is. So they're saying in an exposure window of 45 minutes, okay, every month for a year. That is 540 minutes, which is about 9 hours, okay? If you swap with Megix 10, yes, chemicals, yes, ammonia, yes, PPD, but their exposure time is 10 minutes, okay? 10 minutes every month for 12 months, 2 hours, okay? So you just decrease their exposure to chemicals by 7 hours. So I always tell some of my clients this of just like, let's really think about it for a second. Like, do you want this to sit on your head for 45 minutes or 10 minutes and you're done? And then I map it out over the year and they're like, oh, that makes a lot of sense. So just something to consider. Again, time and a place for no ammonia, no PPD. I have a client that is allergic to PPD and I cannot use PPD on her. She swells. It's not just like a little itchy, like she straight up swells, need a steroid shot. But if they have a sensitivity where they get a little uncomfortable, they get a little itchy, you guys saw Jordan sprayed one up. Okay, we're going to talk about what one up is, but we have solutions for you. So let's go back to Lift 9 really quickly, because Lift 9 can be used to freehand paint balayage. It can be used in foils and it can be used global and on scalp. The difference is your mixing ratio. When it comes to blonding, okay, your mixing or your power is in the powder. Okay, your power is in the powder. The more powder, the more bleach, the stronger. The less powder, the less bleach, the not necessarily weaker, but it's not as aggressive. So when you're doing global or on scalp, we say 1 to 3, meaning 1 part of the power, which is the powder, 3 parts of the developer. Okay. Foils 1 to 2, and then balayage 1 to 1. Let's see. MEA is a liquid, the cousin of ammonia that gets absorbed into the skin, where ammonia is a gas. You said it, not me. So at the end of the day, guys, she's talking about alkalizers. Your choice. So when we are talking about Lift 9, and when I say balayage, we're recommending you mix 1 to 1 because you have a thicker consistency when you mix 1 to 1. When you have a thicker consistency, it's going to be a little bit more powerful. When you're doing open air or when you're surface painting, you want a little more power, okay? The one thing I will say is this: Megix Lift 9 is not a clay-based lightener. So when you're balayaging, there is no kaolin in the lighter, which means it's not going to encapsulate like a balayage bleach does. Basically, it will transfer. So when you're painting, make sure that you do put either a mesh or a film or something before you lay the hair down, because there will be transfer. My recommendation is this: as long as your mixing ratio is at least equal parts, you're fine. Mix it to the consistency that you like, okay? For me, when I'm dealing with fine or thinner hair, I like a thicker consistency. When I'm dealing with thick, coarse hair, I like a thinner consistency. So as long as it's at least 1-to-1, you're good, okay? I want to talk about our developers really quickly. We have Fix, which is a 6 volume. We have a 12, a 21, a 32, and a 40. Why? Why is it not 10, 20, 30, 40? This is a question that we get asked all the time. And the reason is because the secret sauce to how Megix works in 10 minutes is the spectrum technology micropigments coupled with these developers that are a little bit more oxygenated, a little bit more gas, a little bit more push to get those micropigments into the cortex faster. Not enough to where it's going to cause more damage, but enough to give it a little bit more gas, okay? So we have 5 different developers. Fix is a 6 volume, and then we have 12, 21, 32, and 40. So when do we use what? Fix is when we would want a tone-on-tone result, okay? That is a 1 to 1.5 mixing ratio. So 1 part color, 1.5 parts of 6 volume developer, 5 to 8 minutes. So when you're toning with an alkaline toner, or you can also make it acidic with Morph, we'll talk about that in a second, you would go for Fix. This is your like a zero deposit, like a alkaline demi color, okay, or result. If you want a long-lasting demi, you would use the 12 volume, okay? 12 volume is also great for gray blending and sometimes gray coverage on fine and porous hair. That's equal mixing parts, 1-to-1 for 10 minutes. When you're doing a permanent application or gray coverage, we always recommend 21 volume, equal parts for 10 minutes. If you want additional lift and brightness, we have 32 volume, okay? I will never say 32 volume gives 3 levels of lift because it's a chemical, it doesn't have a brain. It doesn't know, but it will give you more lift. It will give you more brightness, and that's also equal parts for 10 minutes. And then we have our ultra blondes, is what we recommend for 40 or with the 40 volume. Now, if you're using ultra blondes with 40 volume, your mixing ratio is 2-to-1. So 1 part color, 2 parts developer, also known as double 40, okay? If you want to use the 40 volume with regular color, not the ultra lifts, with regular color, equal parts, 10 minutes. With ultra blondes, double 40, 20 minutes, okay? I don't ever use 40 volume. My 40 volume is collecting dust, but if you like 40 volume, you can use it with Megix and you will get great lift, okay? I'm going to bring up pH scale really quickly, and just like the basics of it, acidity and alkalinity, okay? If alkalinity softens and swells and expands the hair, acidity does the opposite, right? It constricts it. So when you are dealing with products that we are putting on the hair with hair color, anything that is alkaline that can swell the cuticle layers can lift, okay? Even with a 6 volume developer, it can lift. So if you don't want a shift or a lift or a base bump with Megix 10, we have to acidify our formula. We have to transform it into an acidic demi color, okay? So Megix Morph will do just that. When Morph was launched, I was like, this is a game changer, because all 92 shades of Megix 10 can now be used as a gentle acidic demi. So gentle acidic demi, let's think about, a lot of us use the little bottles, the little liquid, right, as demi permanents. I always say this to stylists because, listen, those colors that we use to tone with, that everybody uses, has tried to use, they're supposed to process for 20 minutes. That is per manufacturer's directions, dry hair 20 minutes. Who puts it on dry hair and who actually lets that process for 20 minutes? Jordan, you got something?
That's something. I saw that you were on the Megix Morph slide. I'm sorry. You guys, I cannot express to you enough how amazing. It's another bridge to making Megix 10 a universal color line. And I don't know, I couldn't hear you, Araz, but you know, like those little bottles, we all know what we're talking about.
I was just talking about that.
Yeah, so that was one of the things that personally, me as an artist, I struggled with transitioning to a new color line because it made me nervous that I wasn't going to be able to just grab that bottle, mix and go. I use Morph all the time, constantly. I love it so much. And it truly does better than any other color that I've used in the past, as far as like tone on tone and it's incredible. I can't express it enough. Obviously you see my passion behind it, but I'll let you go ahead, Araz.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you for that.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah, so I was talking about the little bottles, and I know your blow dryer is on, so you probably can't hear me, but you guys who are on, you can hear me. So the processing time for those is 20 minutes, and I don't know anybody that actually leaves it on for 20 minutes. But we also complain that it fades in 4 seconds, right? Like you flat iron it and it like dissipates, or like the client goes, "Achoo," and it's like, "Whoop, there goes your tone." So the thing with Megix Morph, when you mix Megix Morph into your formula to transform it into an acidic demi line, the processing time is only 5 minutes. So the reason those other colors fade for you guys is because you're not processing for 20 minutes. You're not getting full dye development. With Megix, you get full dye development in 5 minutes. So we usually wash it off because we're low on time. So with Megix, you're getting full dye development, which means your color is going to last longer. Okay, you get more longevity of your color, and it's still an acidic formula. So you don't have to worry about lifting the base or giving a base bump or creating this whole corrective color situation. How many of you have done that where you use a toner thinking it's acidic and it's actually permanent? And there was virgin hair on the head and you're like, what is happening? And you start sweating behind the shampoo bowl. Like, we've all experienced that, right? If you don't want that base bump or that shift, then use Megix Morph in your formula. It lowers the pH to where it becomes an acidic demi-permanent, but it also lasts longer, right? Because we're giving it the 5 minutes full dye development, and it's a cream color, so it just stays on the hair longer. So I know it's a little scary to think about, but it's phenomenal, okay? So the mixing ratios for Megix Morph differ based on the level you're using it with. So here's what we have to think about. It is a very technical product, okay? So it's not let me just throw a couple drops and no. Because if you don't use enough, then you won't acidify the formula enough and you might get a base bump. If you use too much, your formula is then too acidic and no deposit happens. So there is a very specific mixing ratio for Megix Morph, and you always use it with 6 volume developer. So when we're dealing with ultra blondes, these are the highest in alkalinity. That means it has to travel the furthest to get to an acidic. You're going to need more Morph. Whereas a level 5 or 6 is not as high in alkalinity, so it doesn't have to travel as far down in the pH scale. So look at ultra lift color is here. So we need to get it to here. It's a little bit more work than permanent color in like levels 8, 9, and 10, right? So the mixing ratio this is a good screenshot if you want to kind of take your phone and take a quick little screen grab. This is like a cheat sheet, okay? For ultra lift blondes, you're going to mix 2 grams of Morph for every 15 grams of color. For level 8, 9, and 10, you're going to mix 1 gram of Morph for every 10 grams of color. And then for anything below a 7, 1 gram of Morph for 20 grams of color. If this is your first time hearing this, it may be a little bit overwhelming, but it's only because it's new. Once you start using it, you get the hang of it, and it's like game changer on another level. So let's talk about the mixing again. For
Hey, Raz, can you
Yes.
see me right now? Sorry to cut you off. Can you see me?
Kind of.
Okay.
See your client, we don't see you.
Well, no, this is what I want them to see is the color. You guys look at this. Can you see it?
Kind of. Can you turn the camera a little bit more?
Can we do what?
Can you turn the camera like away from where the balloons are and like kind of
Oh,
shift it
yes. Is that better?
a little bit, a little more?
I'm gonna have you stand up really quickly, please. Thank you. I just really want them to see how, come on over here.
How
please.
shiny it is.
Here we go. I really want to see a close-up of this. Can you, are we there now or no?
No, so the camera, I think it's on your webcam or your computer and not your webcam.
Oh, interesting. Okay. Okay.
I think
Sorry
that's-
about that. So you're not seeing me, you're seeing me here?
I see you there, yes.
Interesting. I apologize. Has it been like this the entire time?
I think so. You can still
Uh-oh.
see it, so not a big deal.
See?
That's where we had the moose mix up, and that's why we couldn't see it. Oh, ooh, okay.
I'm so sorry, you guys. Wow.
Look at that. Wow.
So I only applied from here to here. This is again a 5 true neutral. Can we this is so natural looking. I did not do any pull through other than the Synergy Mousse.
Look at that shine, you guys. Amazing.
I really wanted you to see that. And this is natural daylight.
Jordan, can you show from your phone the pictures of her before once you finish?
Absolutely.
A couple pictures. She was under 30% gray, but I think Jordan still wanted to use true neutrals because she wanted to make sure zero warmth was achieved. So
You guys, I am so sorry. I literally had this whole setup and I was like, oh, they could see my cute outfit. They could see everything that's going on here. And
we saw your client and we saw you
oh, my
applying.
cute skirt.
You do look cute. You look
Thank
cute. Okay, so morph, let's talk about morph and mixing it with the color. So remember when we're trying to do, or not when we're trying, when we're going to do a tone on tone result, we have to use Fix Developer. And the mixing ratio is 1 part color to 1.5 parts developer. So when we're mixing our morph, you have to think about this, guys. Morph does not need developer. The color needs developer. So in your bowl, when you put your developer in, it's for the amount of color that's in your bowl, not the grams of color plus morph. And the same thing for morph. You need to add morph to the amount of color that's in your bowl, not the amount of color plus developer. So I'm going to give you an example. Let's say we're doing a toner, and I'm going to use one of my Ultra Lift Blondes, okay? I'm going to put 30 grams of color in my bowl. For 30 grams of color at a high lift blonde, so like say it's 102, I will add 4 grams of morph. Right? 30 grams of color, 4 grams of morph. My developer will be for the 30 grams of color, not the 34 grams that's in my bowl. So then I would add 45 grams of fix. So for that mixing ratio, it would be 4 grams of morph, 30 grams of color, 45 grams of fix developer. And that's for the high lift blondes, okay? So if there's any other technical questions about morph, I will take them in a bit. I realize we are going over, so I want to quickly touch on Megix 1-Up. It's what Jordan sprayed in the hair before she started coloring her model. It is enriched with Caraveg 18. This is what you will use as a pre-color treatment. So you spray it on the hair before any color service. It's going to give you better gray coverage. It's going to even out the porosity so you get even color uptake. And it's also going to minimize scalp sensitivity. So for those of you who are putting sweet and low or equal in your color, we are not doing that anymore. It is 2022. We have products to help with that. So the niacin vitamins and the polyamine sugars in 1-Up are going to help with the scalp sensitivities, okay? So we also have the Megix shampoo and treatment. I always recommend shampooing the hair at least once with Megix shampoo when you wash the color out. I personally have retailed Megix shampoo. I will always use it in my back bar, and I will always use the conditioner or the mousse. So we have these post color services. If you want the most successful results, use all of it. Okay. So we always say the future of hair color is here. Are you ready to get with the times? This is our social, guys. So if you're still on, take a quick screen grab. Make sure you follow us on Instagram, Megix10. I'm Mrs. Adas. Jordan is at Salon Snob, and she's super fun on Instagram. So I will put that in the chat box. And make sure if you're using Megix, tag Megix10, guys. They love to feature your work. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to give you a little coupon code for those of you who are still here. Let me see here. What is the coupon code? So if you want to try Megix10, okay, we have an eye opener kit on our website. Let me take this picture real quick. We have an eye opener kit on our website, guys. It's 3 of the True Neutrals and a 21 volume to try at a pretty big discount. So what you want to do is use coupon code March webinar, all caps. That coupon code will be active in about 30 minutes or so. So make sure that you use that coupon code and get yourself the True Neutrals to try and play with. We want to see, yes, perfect. Look at Jordan's beautiful model. I'm going to pin her so that you guys can see. Can you guys see that insane shine right there? Absolutely beautiful. Jordan, we can't hear you though.
Sorry, I still had you on mute because I was blow drying.
All good. Look at that. Jordan.
Oh, so shiny. I
I
mean,
didn't use.
looks so natural. I mean, look at this.
Did you use any product other than?
I went ahead and nope, I only used the 1-Up because you can also use this as a styling agent. And I did that to show you that it still protects it from heat, and it's kind of all you really need. I sometimes do, I'm not gonna lie, use a little bit of like serum or something, but ultimately this works just great as well if you use it by itself.
Beautiful. Can you show quickly the picture of her before?
Absolutely. Pull it up. I hope everyone enjoyed our class.
You know, I hope you guys got some really good takeaways. Yes.
So this was, there's a glare, but this was, you see the gray that's in there.
Yeah. So would you say she was under 30%, right?
And this was the before. And although her hair was beautiful and she needed a root touch up, her hair looked dry. I mean, we're in dry months. So, I mean, you could see even in itself from just the shampoo and the Synergy mousse, and obviously the color on the root, but even on the ends, it looks like brand new hair. It looks like
No, she looks
it
absolutely.
looks like I did like a keratin treatment or something.
It does. It looks like you flat ironed it. That doesn't even look.
Nope, her hair is still wet. I mean, you guys watched me the entire time. Maybe from the wrong camera, I'm sorry.
Okay, we still got to see everything. So very cool. Okay, so while you finish blow drying, just a reminder, guys, March webinar, all caps. Use that in 30 minutes. The coupon code will be active to get a True Neutrals eye opener kit at a massive, massive discount. So with that being said, our official webinar is now over. So if you feel like you got a lot out of this, I am so happy. That was my goal. I want you guys to feel a little bit more confident and comfortable in using Megix. And now if you guys have any technical questions, this is when I got some time. So any troubleshooting questions while Jordan blow dries? Let's see here. I missed the first 15 minutes. Would I be able to watch again, Karen? Yes. So what will happen is in a couple of days, for those of you that are here, you will get this recording. But just so you know, the coupon code, like I said, it'll be active in 30 minutes, but it's only good for 24 hours. So if you're watching this as a recording, that coupon code has most likely expired. We like to give away coupon codes for those who join us live on our webinar. So open to any questions. Okay, Sari. Okay, so when using toner, clients are feeling tingles and also the odor when applying it has been strong. Any tips or tricks? Yes. Okay. Jennifer, I will see you Sunday. Yes, we have an educator training for beauty solutions this weekend, so I will see you then. Okay, so back to Sari's question. When using toner, clients are feeling tingles. Okay, so here's most likely what is happening. When you shampoo them out, are you scrubbing really hard? If you know that you're going to apply a toner, I guess actually, Sari, my first question is this. Are you using it as an alkaline or acidic? So if you're using it as an alkaline toner and you don't acidify it, it could cause some tingles. So one, I would recommend acidify it and use Morph. Two, when you wash the hair and before you put the toner on, okay, so you're using it as an alkaline, yes, it's going to tingle. So don't scrub the hair a lot because that's just going to irritate it. And then now you're putting a highly alkaline product on there, so it's going to tingle. Number two, what you can do is just gently like rinse the color off and then put your toner on, but also the 1-Up spray. So you can spray the 1-Up spray in the shampoo bowl on their scalp and then apply your alkaline toner directly on top of that, so it will help minimize those tingles, okay? And yes, you can absolutely use it on damp hair. Damp, not wet, right? When the hair is soaking wet, that hair fiber is pretty full. So you're not going to get a decent deposit because there's nowhere for the color to adhere to if it's so wet. So damp hair is totally fine. Okay. Melissa says, we have noticed that people that have had the COVID vaccine are grabbing color differently. They seem to grab more of the underlying pigment. Have you noticed this? Have I noticed that it's grabbing differently? I haven't noticed that, but if I can be like 100% honest, I don't know if my clients have gotten the vaccine or when they got the vaccine. The one thing I have noticed with my client, wow, look at that shine. Oh my gosh, absolutely beautiful. The one thing I have noticed is clients who've had COVID are losing their hair a lot, like 3 months post-COVID, the shedding, and some of my clients like a lot, like almost like postpartum. But as far as the color grabbing differently, Melissa, here's what I would suggest. I would suggest using something to remove all mineral buildup in the hair. You got to think about it this way, guys. Our hair is a part of our excretory system, which means anything that we put in our body will be excreted through our follicles in our hair. This is why this is why medication can sometimes skew our color results. So whatever they're putting in their body will be excreted from their scalp, which could kind of skew your results. So I would do either a deep cleansing chelating shampoo, maybe a Malibu treatment that's demineralizing, removing the minerals, removing the hard water to make sure that nothing funky is on the hair before your color application. So that's my only suggestion would be to make sure the hair is chelated and clean and all buildup is removed. A lady's hair turned violet with a 9.12. Well, Melissa, I will tell you this with a 9.12. In my opinion, if I could rename it, I would make it a 9.21.